Very good. Well, welcome everybody. I think we should go ahead and get started. I'm Deanne Wegwert, and I'm calling to order the meeting on the Commission on Diversity Awareness for the City of Flagstaff. And we've got a full agenda, and I want to make sure that we move through it so that we get to everything. I'm going to go off camera just to ensure that everyone has good reception. But, you know, if you're speaking and you'd like to be on camera, please do so. Roll call. I'm here. Dan Duke, Commissioner Duke, are you here?
I am here.
Great. Commissioner Hardy.
Commissioner Hardy emailed previously. She is not able to attend today.
Good to know, and I appreciate that she did that. Commissioner Mandy Gebler. Not here yet. Commissioner Marcela Pino.
Hello, everyone. Present.
Great. Commissioner Jean Toner.
Present.
Thank you. And Commissioner Christine Tucci.
I'm here. Hi.
Thank you for being here, everybody. Going ahead with our mission statement, I'm going to read the mission statement. We are commissioned to foster support, respect, awareness, and appreciation of diversity among all citizens of Flagstaff. Would one of the commissioners please volunteer to read the land acknowledgement?
This is Marcella. I can do it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. Our land acknowledgement. The Commission on Diversity Awareness humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of the area's Indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by Native descendants, border mountains sacred to Indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you for that. The next thing on our agenda is upcoming opportunities and announcements, and it is a fairly new agenda item, so we're still kind of breaking it in. And I want to remind everyone that this is similar in format to the public participation, but rather than the public participating in this, it's more for the commissioners to participate and share information about what's going on around Flagstaff, things that we all should know. These are not intended to be discussion items. There wouldn't be any lengthy discussion, certainly no voting on anything that would be in this section. There may be a question or two if anyone has questions. Things that are already on the list here, Asian American and Pacific Islander proclamations were read by the mayor at the May 3rd City Council meeting. And another thing on the list is an update on the alternative response model from Shannon Anderson. Shannon, would you care to speak to this?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I've got some talking points. Is it okay that I go into those now?
If it's, you know, relatively brief, yeah. But it is right here on our list.
I will make it brief, and then certainly if you want to look at it after the meeting, I can share this handout with Jessica and she can circulate it to the commissioners. Thanks for giving me a few moments to speak with you. Two things that we were asked to provide an update on: the program as well as the advisory role of the Indigenous Commission. So program updates. The care unit itself launched on March 28th. It's been going relatively well, excuse me. We've also participated in the facilitated meetings with the local service providers as requested during the town hall in September. That facilitated meeting was in December, and then we received the recommendations from the organization who led the conversation in February. Since then, I've been meeting with Sandy Flores from Catholic Charities, along with Kim Musselman and Michelle Oxlin from Coconino County Health and Human Services, to discuss some of the recommendations that came out of that facilitated meeting. Our RARE assessment, they did conduct the first round of interviews in December. They were unable to complete the entire process because some on the program actually ended up getting COVID. So we have some additional interviews that are being scheduled from May 30th through June 18th. So here in the next couple of weeks. Also some good news, there is a potential new service provider that would be in the community to help treat individuals who might be struggling with substance use. Their name is American Rehab Campus. They currently operate in the Tucson area and are looking to open a site here in Flagstaff. As far as an advisory role, our last conversation with the Indigenous Commission was in January of this year. We gave them some background on the alternate response program, talked about the model attributes, gave them some statistics from 2019 and 2020, gave them background on the procurement process, and they helped us in selecting the name and logo for the care unit. We did request the Commission's assistance on cultural sensitivity training resources, and they were also invited to a meeting with Taros Health on the care unit in January to obtain their feedback on things that would be important for implementation of that unit. We will be continuing conversations with the Commission to understand their role in relation to the care unit that's currently in operation, and then the potential future care center that we've been talking about. So those are our highlights from today, and certainly if you all have any questions or want additional information in the future, please just let me know.
Thank you. This is a lot of work and such an important effort. I just want you to know how much I appreciate all you're doing. Does anyone have any questions for Shannon about this? Not right now. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. We also have on our list Coconino County Stronger as One and a website. Jessica, do you have any detail about this?
Yeah, thank you. So I had just posted kind of coming across some of the efforts that the county is working on, came across the Stronger as One website. I won't go to it. It is linked in the agenda. Just something for maybe commission members that might be interested in seeing what the county is doing with similar diversity efforts. And then, you know, if we want to further a conversation in the future or talk about some further like partnership opportunities, we certainly can, but just wanted to pass along what I came across.
That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. It's not something that I am familiar with, and I will take a look and appreciate the information. And then the other thing that we've got listed here is that those of us on the leadership group are interested in knowing if commission members would like to have a social event sometime during this summer, and just wanted to very quickly gauge interest or not in that. And if there's interest, we can add it as an agenda item for next time to talk about what we would do and how we would go about it. Any quick thoughts on this?
Hi, Chair Whiteboard. That sounds great. I would love to do something social to meet everyone in person finally.
As well, Chair Whiteboard, this is Commissioner Duke. I agree.
Okay. Well, and I know that Jean and I had interest. I think there's probably enough interest in it to put it on our agenda for June, and not to let it overwhelm our agenda by any means, but to talk about what we might do and maybe finally get together and see each other in person. That would be amazing. Before we leave this agenda item of announcements, is there anything from any of the commission members that's not on the list, but that you would like to share?
Hi, Chair Redbert. This is Commissioner Pino again. I have
Okay.
some updates from the NAU Diversity Fellows program. Is now a good time to share that?
That's fabulous. Yes, please do.
Okay, excellent. Well, the NAU president, who was announced last summer, has been doing a lot of work in the equity and inclusion space and has announced the hiring of a chief diversity officer as a vice president, reporting directly to the president starting in fall. The search will commence. So with that, there's going to be potentially some structural changes and hiring of additional support. But overall, it seems like there is continued support at NAU for diversity, inclusion, and justice efforts. And secondarily, there's a new NAU strategic roadmap, which includes diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice as a foundational principle, as well as the support of diverse faculty, staff, and students as one of its core initiatives. So perhaps we can think about how we tie back in after we have a chief diversity officer in place for kind of collaboration opportunities next year.
That would be awesome. And as things progress, and clearly you have your finger on the pulse of this, if there are things that we should add to our agenda to make those connections, please let us know.
You got it.
That'd be great. Thank you for that. Any other announcements? Okay. The next thing on our list is public comment. Do we have public comment participants today? Felicia.
Hello. I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. I know Pride Month is next month, and I know you guys usually make a proclamation that might have already been put in, but I just wanted you guys to be aware that what the library is doing for that month. And so for Pride Month, we have our LGBT book club happening on June 13th at 6:30. It's going to be virtual. We also have a Pride paint night for adults. The book club is for 12 and up, so anyone 12 all the way to adult. The Pride paint night will be in person. It will be at Creative Spirits at 6:30. That will be on the 16th of June. And June 17th, we'll have a queer board game night at Bookman's, and that will be at 6 o'clock. We also have a Pride Right night that will be happening earlier in the month. Let's see, I think that is on the 7th. That one is being led by someone other than myself. And so I'm checking the date because I didn't write that one in my calendar. But we also have a drag story time that will be happening in the morning of Pride on June 18th. What is the date? Let me go ahead and get that for you. And then that date is right now, yeah, June 7th. I was right. So June 7th at 6 p.m. That will be held virtually over Zoom. So I just wanted to let the commission know about that, and yeah.
That's quite an impressive list of activities, and a lot of work on somebody's part. I take it your part. So thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for sharing it with us. It's great to be updated on those things. Any other public participation? Jessica?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge some additional members that joined. It looks like Mandy, are you on the call now?
I am, yes.
Okay, awesome. I just want to record that you joined. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for some reason it wasn't letting me connect at all.
Connections have been a problem. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Okay, and anything else that we need to cover right now? Okay. I want to move on to approval of minutes. I took a look, actually, the minutes that we are approving are the draft minutes from our March 15th meeting, because we couldn't meet last month because we couldn't quite put the quorum together. And so we're looking at the March 15th draft minutes. I read through them and did not see anything that I thought needed to be changed. Did anyone else have suggestions for changes? No one's mentioning anything that you've noticed there. Would anyone care to move for approval?
I will move for acceptance of the minutes. This is Jean.
Thank you, Jean.
Hi, Jane. This is Marcella. I'll second.
Great. Thank you, Marcella. All in favor of approval of the March 15th minutes as they are written, say aye.
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 Anyone not approving? Okay, I think we have unanimity there. Thank you for that. And then the date of our next meeting is June 21st. And the agenda says time to be determined, and that's actually an agenda item that comes later on our list. But the meeting date of June 21st is what we have so far. Jessica, did you have something to add to that?
I am wondering if it would be appropriate to talk about the next meeting date and time during that agenda item. If that's something you're comfortable with moving the order of the agenda.
I don't know that we need to have like a big deal about moving the order of the agenda, and it is an agenda item on our list. It makes sense to talk about it all at the same time. So how about if we just jump ahead and get into our action items so that we be sure to cover all of them? Is everyone comfortable with that? I'm not seeing anyone with objections. Action items. The first one is Working Group for the Indigenous Representation Project at Sawmill Multicultural Art and Nature County Park. And who is here speaking?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. I'm Jenna Weldon. I'm the Beautification Arts and Sciences Project Administrator. And in March, I brought this item to you just as a public comment, and you asked that it be agendized. So I am, because I figured you had questions. So first of all, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing it. Anyone else? And thank you for coming back.
No problem. Okay, so the Indigenous Representation Project is Sawmill Multicultural Art and Nature County Park. A little background. And there's going to be an ask at the end that one of you join our working group. So our program has dedicated funding for Indigenous representation cultural projects, and that's plural. We have been holding a series of investigatory meetings with Rose Tohi to explore the types of projects that she may want to have go forward. And also Coconino County over at the Sawmill Park had initiated a few years ago rotating art projects. However, they've only put in not even a full set of art projects on these pedestals, and they haven't had the funding or the staff to continue. So we thought that this might be a unique opportunity. Rose and I went over and sat in the park for a while to see if she thought that this would be a good place to do a project. And so when we went to our commission during our annual budget, this project was prioritized to initiate this year, but install next year. And what we're going to do is initiate this summer a working group. And that working group is actually going to determine the scope of the call for the artists. So this isn't going to be a top-down staff decision. It's going to be, we want to solicit a lot of ideas for this project. But just know, at the park, there are 5 of these pedestals, right, like this. And these are things that you can anchor into. So it's kind of built for sculpture. And they go along a path. You can see the 5 locations indicated by the yellow dots. There's also a couple of other areas. Right here, there's a mural wall. And this is a little tiny amphitheater. So there could actually be little performances there. And then this is the Willow Bend Environmental Center over on this end. And they have this wonderful gazebo, which also could lend itself to performative art. So the considerations that this working group will be exploring to create this call for artwork is, first of all, the funding is from Indigenous representation, so that has to be part of the project. But how will we capture that? And then it is the county multicultural and art park. And so we also, and Rose Tohi is very much behind this. In fact, she was the one who suggested it, have other cultural representation to be explored and included. But how will we do that? And, will we dedicate maybe 3 of the pedestals to one, to Indigenous representation, leave the other 2 open for other cultural representations, or will we do, because this is for rotating artwork, it can be changed every year, every 2 years, every 3 years. Do we do like the first one Indigenous representation and maybe the second one African American? We have a lot of different routes we can go, so we have to decide, though, as a group, what those guiding principles will be. The other things are a little bit more mundane in comparison to that first big one. How often should the art be rotated will be discussed in this working group. There's fun in having it change every year, but that's obviously more cost and staff time. Kind of fee. Should the art be created art on loan, or should it be art created for the space? We might want to determine if a platform is needed that could make a display of 2-dimensional art, because many Indigenous artists work in that form. And then do we want to, think of using that gazebo or that little amphitheater for maybe performative art, as well as those, pedestals? And what kind of selection process and criteria for selection? So there's a whole bunch of things to discuss. And so the ask is for a person to join this working group to make all those determinations with myself, Cynthia Nemeth, who is the County Parks and Recreation Director, and also Rose Tohi from the Indigenous, she's the coordinator for Indigenous initiatives for the city. Actually, her and I started working on the same day, February 24th, 2 years ago. We're going to have the work involved would be coming to probably about a 90-minute kickoff meeting. It'll either be mid-June, mid-July, or mid-August, and that, we will do a doodle poll and see what works for everybody. And then there would be 1 or 2 follow-up meetings. So we'll kind of probably kick around a lot of ideas at the first meeting, see the site, really get immersed in the site, and then, let those ideas, gel, and then come together and make some decisions at a follow-up meeting. So these are the commissions and councils that I've visited, and I'm asking for a member or 2 members for this working group. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you. That's great information, and it's an amazing project. So commissioners, we are being asked to have one of us participate. Someone among us have an interest or knowledge of art, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would say interest rather than knowledge.
Good to know. That'll be more inclusive for sure.
I'm not sure.
Hi there.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey there. This is Commissioner Duke. Yes, I would be interested if no other commissioners are interested in volunteering. That fits my schedule appropriately, and yeah, I would be able to accommodate that. And I would actually like to do that. That sounds very, very much interesting.
Wonderful. We'd be happy to have you.
I'm having trouble raising my hand. Is
Well,
it on
then,
participants
Angie,
thing? Anyway, I'm also interested, but I've got a question for Jana.
Yes.
Is there going to be any partnership with the museum?
No,
Okay,
there's not going to be, no.
okay.
so we have a couple of volunteers. I'm not sure how to break this tie.
And
Deanne can. I think she has more knowledge of art within the diverse community than I would.
I do have kind of a hidden agenda here too. I love the site. I actually am going to be at a writer's workshop there this coming Saturday. And I think it's a real vital space that is just begging to, just begging to have things happen. I also, I know that this is focused on, the visual arts but I think it can be expanded also to, particularly in some of the, anyway, I'd like to see writing included, writing workshops or, slam poetry, stuff like that, especially the slam poetry. And it's just an incredible site out there.
great, as long as we keep the focus on, cultural representation.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I think that what I would like to do is actually accept both of you. Because I'll just expand. I have the authority to expand, the working group by one. It is not a problem. Happy to have that, issue.
That's wonderful. I second that. Thank you. I think Dan has a lot to offer.
Kind of a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Jessica, did you have something to say? I'm wanting to make sure you get a chance.
Oh, thank you. I was actually going to ask that question if we could have both rather than try to go down the path of tiebreaker. I'm also even thinking if one is able to attend and another is not, we have, at least that representation still there. And then my only ask for this commitment would be if you do have an update from this particular project for our group, just let me know ahead of time and I'll make sure to get it on the agenda to hear either from Jana, or if it's going to be from one of the commission members.
All right. So Jessica, could you make sure that I get contact information for Gina and Duke?
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, I have to run to another meeting. I thank you so much for your time and your enthusiasm. And I look forward to our meeting our first meeting out at the park.
Thank you for being here and for the work that you're doing. Appreciate that.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you.
The next thing on our agenda is the Proclamations work group update, if they have one. Has someone got something to share?
Yeah, I met with, this is Jean. I met with Deborah, who is and thank you, Dan, for sending that link. I had a wonderful meeting with her, and we are going to co-sponsor the proclamation that I sent to Jessica. So it will, well, you'll see that when we read it, but this is just continuing that, kind of that practice of trying to co-sponsor instead of sponsor just from the commission, but to go out into the community and get community groups to be co-sponsors. I think it really deepens community engagement, and it certainly improved the proclamation. Deborah Taylor had wonderful suggestions, and so that's really the whole report. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, will we be approving it today?
Yes.
I think it's really helpful if you read it, if you don't mind.
Not a bit. Okay. So the mission of the City of Flagstaff is to enhance quality of life and preserve the values of our community, an important part of which is embracing, respecting, and celebrating diversity. And we take pride in recognizing the civil rights and human rights construct a stronger foundation for Flagstaff as an inclusive community by promoting an environment that is welcoming and accepting and respectful of the dignity of all people. And Flagstaff is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for all LGBTQIA Two-Spirit plus people in our diverse community. And we observe Pride Month with the raising of the rainbow flag to honor the history of LGBTQIA2S plus liberation movement, and to support the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. We note with alarm that across the nation, LGBTQIA2S plus persons, especially transgender women of color, have been targeted by acts of violence, and state-level laws are being enacted denying transgender youth, athletes, healthcare, and basic civil human rights. And it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remain vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for the Flagstaff community, and is an important an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And hand in hand, we commit to continuing our efforts to make Flagstaff a community inclusive of its lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer and questioning population, Two-Spirit plus. And the National Northern Arizona Pride Association is celebrating the annual Pride Month in June 2022, the goal of which is to create a consistent effort in supporting and fostering acceptance for the LGBTQIA2S plus community. There's a missing two there. And persons, and in partnership with the City of Flagstaff Commission on Diversity Awareness and Northern Arizona Pride Association, recommend the designation of June 2022 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer and Questioning Two-Spirit Plus Month, in unison with national and statewide observances. And then it just goes on to say, I therefore, Paul Deasy.
Thank you for reading that, Jean. I know it was a lot, but I think it really helps to hear it. And I know a lot of thought went into the wording of it. So thank you for that. Is there any discussion about this?
Hi there, this is Commissioner Duke. That all sounds great. One sentence kind of pops in my mind, which I don't know if the wording just kind of is a little weird to me, where it says, especially transgendered women of color. I'm sure there's a lot of victims not just identify that transgendered women. So I might suggest that be especially transgender individuals of color.
Jean, your thoughts on that?
Well, that was just statistical. The most deaths are associated with transgender, specifically women of color. But I really take Dan's suggestion. I understand what he's saying. Let me see. How could that be restructured, where we really highlight the people who are dying the most? Because I take it that, I take Dan's point. I really do.
I wonder if saying individuals of color isn't a fairly good way of addressing it, because it does include women of color, but also whoever else is, you know, being targeted.
Would that, how do you feel about that, Dan, just saying especially persons of color, transgender persons of color?
I think that's more appropriate than per se labeling someone's perceived sex, anatomy, sexual identification.
Hi, everyone. This is Commissioner Pino. I like that edit. I also really like the overall feel of the proclamation. I think like the spirit of the intention comes through really nicely. So yeah, I don't have any other edits, just to say that it's clear that it was well thought through, and I think that really shows.
Thank you.
This is Jessica. I just made a quick change. We are confirmed for the May 31st council meeting to have this proclamation read. And I'll have some kind of follow up after that, but I did want to point out that change here.
Okay.
Excellent.
Any other?
Following up, you know, with what Jessica said, as a collaboration, the president of Northern Arizona Pride, Deborah Taylor, is going to be present at the reading also. And she will be it will be in person, so we need somebody from our commission to also be there.
And I think let's get back to that in just a minute. I want to finish. Are there any other edits or suggestions or any further discussion about the content of the proclamation? And hearing none, I would like to move that we approve this proclamation as amended. Is there a second?
This is Dan. I second it. Oh.
Okay.
All third.
All right.
Who was three?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, very good. Well, then we have approved the proclamation, and I want to get back briefly then to who's going to be there. What time of day is this?
This is for the 3 o'clock council meeting. It's right at the beginning of the meeting. And then I will just need to know, like Dean or Dee stated, I'm sorry, Jean, who will be in person or virtually. You'll have a special link if you're virtual. Otherwise, if you're in person, it'll be at City Hall.
I think this is, I mean, not that our other proclamations aren't important, but this one is, I don't know, especially close to my heart. I would like to be there.
And I want to just make sure to be clear, the mayor will be calling on you, and that's okay. So anyone who's there can go up to accept the award who's there on behalf of the commission. But we would like at minimum one person who is comfortable, if that's you, Dee, going up and actually standing up there with Deborah to accept the proclamation.
Well, I don't mind, but I don't know that I have to be the only one going up. If anyone else wants to be there, can't we all just?
This is Dan. I'd be comfortable as well going up there with you if need be.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
This is Dan. I'm able to attend and receive it with you if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, I've been asked specifically that we've had proclamations in the past where no one was physically accepting. So absolutely, as long as we have a minimum of one, there can certainly be more. But otherwise, the mayor just likes to know if someone is physically accepting the proclamation, but it certainly can be more.
Jean, you've worked on this. Do you want to be there?
Yeah.
Or-
I'm pretty happy with you and Dan being there. Thank you.
Okay.
I was there for the last one, so I'm our last couple of them actually. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah,
for that.
I'm glad for y'all to be there.
Okay. If anyone else chooses to be there, if you would let Jessica know your intent, that would be helpful. Is that correct, Jessica?
Yes, and whether it'll be virtually or in person, because virtually has a special link if you're, participating per se in one of the agenda items.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to discuss related to the proclamation?
Did we have any future coming up? I don't have any on my list.
Not until I think there's I think October is the next one, which is Hispanic Heritage.
Okay.
And I suspect that we'll, at least I'm going to seek to do a collaboration with the county council. And yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. Moving on to reports and discussion items. Introduction from, I'm not sure if I'll say your name correctly, Lisa Renee Keita?
You got it. You got it. You got it.
Oh, close. City of Flagstaff Human Resource Analyst, Employee Relations, Compliance, and Training. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me today, committee. And I am not really sure why, but it seems like my team's calendar, or excuse me, camera is not working today. So I apologize for that. I've kind of come in and out and I'm still not able to access the camera right now. But from here, I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen.
Lisa,
Yes, ma'am.
we can see you.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody. I can't see you guys. That's what's so weird about it. So nice to meet everybody and nice to put a name to the face. Thank you very much.
Good.
And as I said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Lisa.
Okay, let's try this again. Teams is wanting to be a little difficult today, but let's try it one more time. There we go. How about now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we'll do a quick overview here, talk a little bit about myself and what I do for the city of Flagstaff. So for those of you who were wondering about the pronunciation of my name, she got it perfectly correct. It's Lisa Renee Keita, and I am the HR analyst for compliance and training and employee relations for the city of Flagstaff. And I'm also the staff liaison for the Committee on Inclusive and Adaptive Living. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is a little bit about what I do for the city. In terms of employee relations, that includes everything from interacting with supervisors, employees, managers on any situation that will occur in the workplace in terms of needs, job development skills, issues between coworkers, that sort of thing. We take care of that. Of course, compliance and policy is all of the policies and procedures that we have here at the City of Flagstaff, and just making sure that everyone is aware of our policies, that the policies are accessible, especially for those that are new coming into the city and are just starting out with us, having them understand, how we flow as an organization and what sort of policies and procedures that we have in place. On the data analysis side, pretty much what you would consider to be a HR structure, and that is gathering the data. And so in compliance and policy, a lot of that data is driven by our policies and making sure that those specific policies that we have here at the City of Flagstaff are kept up on and that they are recorded for compliance reasons. I'm going to talk a lot about training and development, which is a key part of my position here at the City of Flagstaff. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the software system that we have implemented within the last year and a half that helps with training and development and diversity. One of the other things that I do is random testing. Of course, this is in comparisons to or in compliance with our drug and alcohol policy testing. So whenever we have new hires or people that are CDL, people who drive our city vehicles and trucks, I do a lot of the testing for that. As I said before, I'm a staff liaison with the Commission of Inclusion and Adaptive Living. And one of the other things that I take care of is a program that we have for tuition reimbursement. And so for those people that are looking to further their education in terms of degree programs, we partner with area universities in order to bring them a program that helps supply the funding for those programs. So I do a lot of work in initiating that program, getting the applications out to employees, and then submitting the reimbursement program through the funding toward the end of the semester for each one that joins for that term. So let's talk a little bit about our training and development division here at the City of Flagstaff. I'm actually really excited about this, and I know that most of our HR staff is, the more that they get into this program, they're learning a lot about what NeoGov Learn has to offer. And so about a year and a half ago, the city implemented NeoGov Learn as a part of the NeoGov software system to enhance our training and development. And in the terms of diversity, one of the things that we're looking at in terms of getting our employees up to speed, making sure that they have knowledge and awareness on what diversity and inclusion is, here are some of the courses that we have to offer in that area. So for starters, we have a course called Developing a Diversity and Inclusion Program. This is a step-by-step process to tell the HR department and also managers how to develop a diversified program that's inclusive of all people, of all aspects of diversity, and what that program entails and what it would look like. Another course that we offer is Diversity and Inclusion on the workplace, meaning, okay, once you get the program down, what are the tools and resources that you're going to use every day in order to make sure that this program is applicable and working correctly for your organization in terms of diversity. We also have a course on diversity toolkit, and this basically just kind of breaks it down a little bit in terms of inclusion and exclusion and what the differences are and how to be able to tell the difference and apply the inclusion part to your toolkit and make it successful in the workplace. Another course that we have to offer is diversity, respect, and legal compliance. Again, this goes along with our compliance policies, just making sure that we are adhering to state, federal, and local laws in terms of implementing diversity programs, respecting diversity programs, and being in compliance with those laws. We also have a number of courses and that should say number, not a number of courses added quarterly through NeoGov. So oftentimes these courses will shift and change throughout the quarter. Say, for instance, the Developing a Diversity and Inclusive Program course needs an update. Maybe there's something that has shifted in our laws and state laws. We will get that information and it will get updated into the program. So the program is constantly being refreshed and the training is constantly being updated so that you are aware of current standard protocols in terms of training and development for diversity. So next I want to talk a little bit about what I do for, or not necessarily what I do, but some of the things that we have coming up with the Committee on Inclusive and Adaptive Living. The focal point of the committee is to work with leaders and organizations on inclusion and adaptive living all over Flagstaff. And some of the current projects that we have going on right now is the renovation of the library for more ADA compliance. I don't know if you guys have gotten our newsletters or are aware, but our downtown library is changing, and hopefully toward the end of the summer, the renovation project will be done and it will be more accessible for people in need that are differently disabled. We also have our Metro Go, which is a bus program here that rides along the Huntington Corridor, focusing on differently disabled people as a rideshare project. And it helps people go from one end of the spectrum on the Huntington Corridor to the industrial park to the other end. So for those that don't have transportation and have transportation needs to get back and forth to like Walmart, the shelters, or anything over in that area that helps our differently disabled community. That Metro Go project was launched in November, and every month it has been successful in gaining traction and getting people to participate in that. And then another project that we're working on is through Water Services, and they are focusing on an easier get around via traffic and sidewalks on the Butler Avenue area. So those are some of the things that the committee is working on. We also have people that come in and speak about projects that we have with nonprofit organizations that are in the community that focuses on including differently disabled people in certain projects in and around the community. And we do a lot of work with community colleges and some of the NAU programs for people that are differently disabled who want to do advancement in careers such as college courses and things of that nature. So those are some of the things that we do on the CIAL committee and what I'm participating in as a staff liaison. So I'm going to wrap this up and thank you, but also take a moment to ask you if you have any questions for me. I asked you to go ahead and jot down my email address, which is lisa.cada@flagstaffaz.gov, or my direct line at 928-213-2095. Any questions?
Thank you for
Hi,
the
Lisa.
presentation.
Oh, sorry. Did someone else jump in?
Go ahead, please do.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Lisa. This is Commissioner Pino. I work for NAU, and I'm curious about kind of the trainings that you offer and how you and your team stay like up to date with content. Specifically, you know, if there are conferences that you attend or how you learn kind of cutting edge training in the space, because we're constantly thinking about how we're maintaining our information relevant and accurate. And I think it could be a good opportunity to do a quick best practice share.
That's a really good question. What I've been doing since I've been participating with the NeoGov Center is I actively go in looking for specific courses. So what I do as a part of my job here at the City of Flagstaff is I review a lot of the courses in the NeoGov program, and then I go out and do research on the internet and I see what's out there right now. Is there anything in the courses that we have right now that have not been implemented into our NeoGov Learn? Are there courses out there that we might want to pair with our NeoGov Learn and offer that as a portion of our training and development? This is all still in the beginning stages, but that's one of the things that I do. I actively research information on the courses, and I go through the course content to see how relevant they are to today's time. And I'll give you an example of that, kind of off topic a little bit. One of the other things I do here at the City of Flagstaff is our orientation for our new hires. And a big part of that orientation is on compliance and policies. Well, one segment of our policies has to do with, let's say for example, harassment. Well, we know now with technology that can come in all different various types and forms. So it's my job to have up-to-date information when I go in to do that training, so people know that it's not just a standard coworker versus coworker situation. Harassment can also come in the form of technology. So things of that nature I would bring into the training so that people are aware that in 2022, we have to be concerned about our technology. Even though it's been driven as a positive, there's some negativity that comes along with it, and just having people be aware of that. Now, how that translates to the diversity side of it is it's basically the same concept. I'm looking to find out what are some of the struggles other organizations are having in doing training and development for diversity? What are some of the drawbacks? What are they not finding? What's not being offered? And are we offering that information here at the City of Flagstaff? Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much. Super interesting, and I commend you. It's not easy to stay on the pulse. I feel like this field is changing constantly. So yeah, absolutely. And I'll jot down your email too. We can connect after the fact, but thanks for sharing.
Lisa, I was wondering if you would be comfortable. I mean, it's in your, at the end of your presentation there, you had added your contact information. Is it appropriate for that to be perhaps sent by Jessica to the commission members?
That would be okay with me. If that's okay with Jessica and it fits within the guidelines of your policy, I wouldn't mind having it sent out.
Okay. Jessica, is that doable, do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay. I didn't mean to be just creating work for you without your involvement. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries at all. I have that on my follow-up list.
Are there any other questions or comments for Lisa? Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I am more than happy to come back if there's any questions in the future.
That's great. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed hearing what you had to say.
Thank you.
Kudos. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Jean, I had ignored that you had your hand up. I'm so sorry. The next thing on our agenda is the regional plan. And we have someone here to speak to that.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Jordan Hollinger. I'm an associate planner with the City of Flagstaff and really happy to be here to talk to you about the regional plan today. So I will go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you. Can everyone see my screen okay? Should see a title slide. Great. All right, and just to note, I think Mark Revis, my colleague here, neighborhood planner, is also here as well. He's just in the background, though, I think. All right, so what I want to cover today, or what I'll present a little bit about today, is I'll talk a little bit about what the regional plan is, what's in the current Flagstaff regional plan, where we as comprehensive planning staff sort of see diversity coming into the plan, or where it should be in the plan. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we are doing to update the regional plan and what that process will look like going into the future. And then ultimately, we're here today to talk to actually ask for your input, which will be in the form of a SWOT analysis. If you're okay doing that, that'll be something you'll do outside of the commission meeting. But that's ultimately why we are here, is to actually get some feedback from you on the current regional plan. So diving in to sort of provide a relatively quick overview of what the regional plan is. It's the regional plan fits within a fairly broad set of policy and planning documents that the City of Flagstaff and actually Coconino County use to plan for the future. The diagram on this slide sort of describes the different levels of planning that the city does. So you can see that the regional plan there is kind of the broadest policy document that we have, and it's actually the only plan besides the city charter that is ratified by voters. So voters actually go and vote on this plan. The plan is intended to be somewhat visionary in nature. It's intended to guide growth and development over a sort of future 20-year time horizon, give or take a few years. And it typically includes things, addresses issues such as energy, housing, neighborhoods, public facilities, natural resources, transportation, and land use are kind of the main ones. Underneath the regional plan, we have specific plans like the city's high occupancy housing plan, the La Plaza Vieja neighborhood, and Southside neighborhood plans. Then we have a lot of other strategic and master plans, such as the active transportation master plan, carbon neutrality plan, as well, those sorts of things. And then at the bottom of this pyramid, we have our codes, kind of the way that these plans get implemented. So that would be things like the zoning code, engineering standards, really any standard that the city has should be consistent with those higher level policy documents that we develop and adopt. So although we do look at the regional plan as kind of the guiding document for sort of guiding growth and development in the region, we do like to make a few distinctions about what that actually means in terms of what the plan is and what it's not. The plan is supposed to be a collaborative community vision. It should contain a collection of goals and policies to achieve that vision. It is used as a tool for decision makers at the city level, at the county level. It's also used as a tool from developers, businesses, and citizens. And it just sort of provides a general planning framework for our region. It's important to recognize that the regional plan is not a mandate for or against development. It is not a zoning ordinance. It's not a capital improvement plan. It's not a city budget, and it's not unchangeable. It does influence all of those things, but it does not in and of itself change any one of those things automatically. So in terms of how the plan is actually implemented, when we look at the goals and policies and the vision that the plan is laying out, these are kind of the main ways that the plan is implemented. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it is kind of the main ways. So we do see, code changes such as the zoning code. Any changes to that code should be consistent with the regional plan. We see the regional plan referenced in decisions about capital improvements. When it comes to discretionary development approvals, we are looking at the regional plan to determine whether the development is consistent with that vision. The regional plan is often further refined either for a specific neighborhood or a topic area through specific and master plans. We can kind of have one-off programs or economic incentives that come out of the regional plan. It does also influence the annual budget, and it is something that is referenced when making annual budgetary decisions. And then kind of combined with that, what city council is setting as work programs and priorities for us as city staff can also come out of the regional plan as well. So it impacts a lot of different areas of the city. So why do we call it a regional plan? Unlike a lot of other municipalities in Arizona, our general plan is actually regional in nature. So we actually co-create the plan with Coconino County to cover a 525 square mile area it corresponds to our regional transportation planning area as well. So as much as this is a document that sort of focuses on growth and development and land use, it's also very closely tied to how we plan for transportation as well. So within the city of Flagstaff, as I mentioned, the regional plan serves as our general plan. It is ratified by voters, and we are required to have it ratified, go to the voters, either as an updated version of the existing plan or as a new plan every 10 years. And then it supports land use decision policy making, and is also very influential in our modeling for water supply and demand within the region as well. For Coconino County, the regional plan is an amendment to their county comprehensive plan. Instead of going to voters, it's actually adopted by the Board of Supervisors as a major plan amendment. And then it provides a map of area and place types that sort of further refines what certain areas of the county within the regional planning area should look like going into the future. So this is a map of the regional planning area, that 525 square mile area that I was talking about. And you can see that it includes the city of Flagstaff, as well as a number of communities outside of the city limits, such as Doney Park, Timberline, Fort Valley, Mountain Air, Belmont. So a number of communities that fall outside of the city. So the current regional plan, which is the Regional Plan 2030, Place Matters is the title. That plan was adopted in 2014 by voters, and the public had some pretty clear asks of the plan at that time, including that they wanted to see the plan hold government accountable for publicly derived policy outcomes and goals. They wanted to see physical and economic development really align with the regional plan. They wanted the plan to establish priorities for public action. There was a hope that the plan could provide direction for private decision making as well, and then really wanted to see it encourage predictable decision making in the city as well. So in terms of what is in the current regional plan, it's very heavy, very robust on the goals and policies front. It has 97 goals with 508 policies to achieve those goals. And one of the challenges that we certainly have with the current regional plan is there is currently no prioritization of goals and policies. So there are a lot of things to look at all at once. And we've certainly, since this has been adopted, had a lot of feedback from council, developers, even staff who kind of raised the really good point that a lot of these goals and policies are really great, but without having any way to understand the trade-offs, that can be really difficult for decision making and may not align with some of those asks that the public had of the plan when it was adopted. During the development process of the current regional plan, there was an overarching vision that was created that reads, the greater Flagstaff community embraces the region's extraordinary cultural and ecological setting on the Colorado Plateau. Through active stewardship of the natural and built environments, residents and visitors encourage and advance intellectual, environmental, social, and economic vitality for today's citizens and future generations. So that was kind of the overarching vision that was established for the current regional plan. Then additionally, there were a set of guiding principles also included in the plan that were supposed to further represent the city's collective community values. Um, People and equal opportunity is a guiding principle. So the way that the plan was set up is that the goals and policies in the plan should reflect these guiding principles. What we have found is that the people-centric approach doesn't necessarily translate into goals and policies that include maybe our current understanding of things that we should be considering, like the potential impacts or the distribution of impacts and benefits to the community. So that's something that I think that we kind of look at this as a good guiding principle that maybe didn't make its way into the goals and policies as robustly as it could have. So moving on to the regional plan sections, the plan is broken down into three different sections. Natural environment, which includes chapters on environmental planning and conservation, open space, water, and energy. The built environment, which includes chapters on community growth, community character, growth, land use, transportation, development costs, public buildings, services, and facilities. And then the last section is the human environment, which includes chapters on neighborhoods, housing, economic development, and recreation. So where do we as comprehensive planning staff think that diversity, equity, and inclusion should come into or be considered in the plan? We really think all of it or most of it, that should be a lens that is woven throughout the plan. As I mentioned, the regional plan is supposed to be a visionary policy document that should represent and recognize our community's diverse views, cultures, and values. And the plan should be a product of equitable community input as well. The plan is very impactful for how our community is going to grow and develop and what it'll look like in the future. So when we think about the needs of a community in terms of transportation or land use, that can look very different. And if we're not getting good representation input into the process, representative input into the process, that can lead to a plan that isn't for everyone in our community. So that's a really important consideration as we move forward. So unfortunately, the current plan doesn't contain a lot of specifics about diversity, equity, and inclusion, the diversity of needs within our community, the distributive impacts of the goals and policies. Um, it does contain some goals and policies that touch on them, but it's not super robust in this area. So for example, the heritage preservation and economic development sections contain goals and policies that are supportive of Native American culture and art. It doesn't have a lot of other cultures, histories, and experiences actually outlined in the goals and policies. It does give a nod to them in kind of the narrative of the plan, but not so much in the goals and policies. Of course, we do have some specific plans such as the La Plaza Vieja and Southside neighborhood plans that add some additional context to our community and goals and policies for those specific areas. One of the areas that the plan does somewhat better on including is on including accessibility concerns. For example, in the land use and transportation policies, call out accessibility and connecting to the needs of people with varying ability levels. So a little better in that regard. Sections on public buildings and services and housing also include goals and policies that seek to ensure accessibility for people of varying ability levels. Um, and I guess one of the things that I think is important to mention in this section is that the areas where this is a little bit more robust also tend to align to areas where there would be things like ADA requirements for housing requirements. And I think that the conversation can and should go beyond those just sort of base level requirements and explore where we can be even more inclusive and robust on the idea of diversity. So finally, in terms of equity, the plan is not super strong on equity either. There are a few goals and policies do include sort of the ideals of equal burden or benefit of impacts. We've had some plan amendments related to the carbon neutrality plan that have brought equity into the plan in terms of climate change. But there are a lot of areas that the plan doesn't really talk enough about how we ensure our community is growing and developing in an equitable way. So that's something that we're hoping to bring into the update as well. So we are now starting. We are at the sort of first stage process to update the regional plan and moving into the next regional plan, which will be developed over the next 3 to 4 years. We have a few guiding principles that we're sort of starting out with that include considering who the right people are, the right agenda, right timing. We're hoping that we can get experts and the public to work closely together. We recognize that there is a need for outside facilitation in a lot of the conversations that we're going to have over the next few years, and that our position as a city doesn't necessarily always isn't always something we're not always in a position to make people feel comfortable. So we recognize that outside facilitation is important. As I've mentioned, equity and inclusion, we really are hoping to have that as a focus and kind of a lens that is woven throughout the not only the eventual plan, but also the development of the plan and the input that we're receiving to develop the plan. So this is kind of how we're going to go from our current regional plan to the next regional plan, which will have the date of 2045 on it. And as I mentioned, that'll happen over sort of a 3 to 4 year period that corresponds to these 4 phases of public participation and development. We are currently in and wrapping up phase 1, which is really about getting curious and informing the public and our partners about the process and the plan. We're getting familiar with what we know, what we're uncertain about, trying to get insight into the questions that we should be asking as we go through this process. A big part of phase 1 has been that we've been doing public informational webinars that we've titled Snapshots every week on pretty much all the topics that the regional plan covers, and we're also writing papers to go along with those presentations as well. So we actually just finished that last week with a presentation on equity. That was last Monday. And then another part of phase one that we're also wrapping up is trying to gain insight from all city, county, and partner commissions and committees into their relationship with the regional plan and how they perceive its success, failures, and then where they think we have opportunities to make the next regional plan better. And then we've actually started to do some boothing, and into the summer we're going to do a lot of boothing at events, talking to the public and trying to build that community interest in the process, in the regional plan update process. Ingredients of the regional plan. There are a lot of different components. I just sort of went over the overview of the development process, but the ingredients that we need throughout those phases are quite varied. These are just a few of them. We'll be looking at organizational planning. We'll take cues from existing specific and area plans that have been adopted since the current regional plan. We'll be doing a lot of data analysis and forecasting, engaging with the community about their values and beliefs, and also continuing to partner within and across government, including coming back to engaging and continuing to come back to subject matter expert commissions and committees. In terms of data and modeling, we're collecting over 180 data points. We've already begun to collect a lot of that data across the various domains that you see here. We'll continue to update that data, collect additional data, look for new ways, new data points. I think within the realm of diversity and equity, there's a lot that we can do going into the future that we haven't necessarily done in the past. So I think that'll be a really good piece of the next regional plan. And then we'll also explore and incorporate a lot of emerging issues such as climate change and carbon neutrality, which the current regional plan was actually quite weak on until we had the adoption and major plan amendment related to the carbon neutrality plan. Of course, equity and inclusion, I keep saying that our intention is to have that kind of be an overarching lens that is woven throughout the plan and the development process. We have a housing affordability crisis in Flagstaff, so we'll really rely on the 10-year housing plan to incorporate some of those strategies into the regional plan. Public health is still a very salient topic that we know a lot more about how resilient our community or not resilient our community is, the disparate impacts of things like a pandemic on our community. So considering those elements in the next regional plan as well. And then finally, emerging technology, vehicle automation and electrification are rapidly changing our transportation landscape, and then also looking at broadband and high-speed internet as an essential utility, which we know has real implications for opportunity in our community. So as I mentioned, we are actually here with an ask today of the commission. We have been going around to all city commissions and boards, giving a very similar presentation with the ultimate goal of getting your feedback on the current regional plan and the opportunities we currently have for updating the plan over the next few years. So the way that we have been doing that is through a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if the commissioners are willing, we would like to do the same thing with the Commission on Diversity Awareness as well. And what you're seeing here is a screen grab of the digital whiteboard that we've been using to accomplish this task. In terms of the SWOT analysis, we have some overarching questions that we're asking you to consider underneath each one of these categories. So for strengths and weaknesses, we're asking you to think about the current regional plan. What are the strengths of the Flagstaff Regional Plan 2030? What are the weaknesses of the Flagstaff Regional Plan 2030s? Then for opportunities and threats, we're asking you to look into the future and the next regional plan and think about where we have opportunities to include things that we didn't necessarily include, or if there's information that we have today, better understanding about equity issues that we can incorporate into the plan. What are those opportunities that you see that we should incorporate into the next regional plan? And of course, no plan is without threats to adoption. So we're also really interested to hear your perspective on what could threaten or negatively impact the creation or implementation of an updated regional plan as well. So I will provide the information to participate this sort of stepped process here to go through this exercise to Jessica to forward on to the commissioners if this is something that you'd be interested in participating in. It's relatively straightforward, but we're asking you to review as much of the current regional plan as you can, and then go to the digital whiteboard site and just populate that whiteboard with ideas that you have related to those 4 different categories: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then because this due to some sort of open meeting law requirements, there is a sort of a rating stage that we'll go through that I will need to come back to a future meeting. I can talk. I will go through that at a future meeting if this is something that you decide you'd like to participate in. I did want to just very quickly show you what the digital whiteboard looks like and how you use it. And again, I'll provide information after the meeting today to Jessica to forward on to you. But essentially, the link that I provided in the PowerPoint will take you to this whiteboard, and we have the questions that we're asking you to consider in each one of these boxes here. And to add an idea, all you do is click on this little plus symbol, and you can type an idea in, press enter, and it'll just populate that idea. Because you will be doing this outside of an open meeting forum, you will only be able to see your own ideas, but all of the commissioners will be doing this on their own, and then during the next meeting, we'll come back together and I will have grouped all of those ideas together, and then we'll take a look at them and then go through a rating process that I'll go over at that time as well. So that is the SWAT platform. And I will say, I have my contact information at the end of this presentation or on the next slide, and you are free to reach out to me anytime to ask for help in completing that exercise as well if there are any technical issues. So that's all we have at this time. But we sort of wanted to leave you by recognizing that we are asking you to provide feedback in one specific way that may not resonate with all of you. And we really want to leave open any suggestions that you have for other ways that we can or should engage with the commission. And also recognize that we might not be asking all the right questions. We've had really good feedback from most commissions using this method, but we do want to leave it open to you to also say, I would like to provide feedback in another way. We are very receptive to that and would love it if you have another idea for a way that you'd like to provide feedback to us about the regional plan. So if you think of something else we should be doing, questions that we should be asking, groups that we should be talking to, feel free to reach out to us and let us know. We're trying to, we have a pretty robust list of people and community groups, but we are always looking for more people, more organizations to add to that list as well. And then, as I mentioned, if you would like to participate in the SWAT and you have any trouble with the digital whiteboard, you can email any one of us here on this slide, and we are happy to meet with you one-on-one and go through that as well. So that is all we have today. Any comments, questions?
Thank you for the presentation. That's an enormous project. I mean, oh my word, it makes my head spin. Jean has a question.
Am I okay? I think I'm unmuted now. Jordan,
yeah.
Thank you so much. I echo what Dee said, that this is just a massive undertaking. And I really want to commend this process of having, it's almost like doing homework before. It's almost like the flipped classroom, doing the homework first and then coming to class and having the discussion. And we would have to, as a commission, approve this. But what I'm thinking about is we're so limited on time in our commission meetings because we have, we're supposed to adjourn now in 3 minutes, I think. But would you be open to scheduling a work session so all the commissioners could show up and we could have a more open forum? It would still obviously be open meeting laws. That's not a problem. But what it would give us is not such a huge agenda and a focused discussion. And if everybody's done their SWOT analysis first, we've all done our homework and we know the things that we want to bring. Is that something that y'all would be? Because I think this is when we did our own survey as a CODA commission, one of the biggest messages was from the people was we don't want to be Aspen, so this is real important that we get this diversity conversation really not just provided, but documented and woven into the plan, as you say. So if you're open to that, I'm going to, present it to the commission that we vote to, have a work session with you that has less, kind of parameters around it for time. And anyway, I just really want to commend you. It was very clear. I really am happy to hear this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think as long as we can maintain that open meeting kind of format for the work session, I would be very happy to do that. I will still send, I'll send Jessica, it'll be a very sort of brief memo description, kind of reiterating some of the information here. I'll send her that, the PowerPoint, and then a link to the digital whiteboard. And instructions about how to input ideas there, so that you can get started on that before we do that additional meeting. But that's a long way of saying that yes, I would be very happy to do that, to do this exercise.
That's good to know. You may have covered this. I'm a little tangled up in the amount of information, so I apologize. But what is the turnaround time that you're hoping for with us? I mean, how soon would you like to have our feedback and have this taken care of?
Yeah, so we are trying to wrap up the commission SWOT process in June sometime. I think we have I think 2 other commissions that we still need to go back to again. So my hope was that presenting the information to you today, that a month would be sufficient for idea population, or less time if the commissioners feel like 2 weeks would be sufficient. That's also fine. But I was planning initially on a month and then just coming back to the next commission meeting. But open to your thoughts on that.
Jean?
I think that would be insufficient for a work group. It might be sufficient for a SWOT analysis on the whiteboard, but then we as a commission don't have kind of a unified voice in sitting with you and your staff and talking. So I would be more inclined. We have to vote on everything, and everything with this commission is open meeting laws. And so there's all those, those kind of time parameters involved. So I would say that being ready to return to this with a report on what you found next month is not something that we could accommodate, I thought.
Other commissioners? Anyone have ideas about how we can accomplish this? Jessica?
Yeah, so it sounds like we have a few options. First we can definitely set up, we call it a special meeting. I post an agenda. We could do that, I don't know, 2-3 weeks out, whatever the time frame is. that you as commission members feel is sufficient for you to complete the questionnaire, the SWOT questionnaire, and then we could schedule that special meeting with an agenda a few weeks out. The other option, which Jordan was initially offering, was to attend the June meeting. And if everyone could have their, or whoever is wanting to participate, have their questionnaires filled out before the June meeting, we could, evaluate whether or not you feel it's a sufficient time in the June meeting. I'm not sure. Personally, I don't feel like maybe a special work group is necessarily going to meet the need here, but I mean, a special work group is an option. It's just a little more work for a few group of people outside of the kind of meeting times.
I'm thinking that if we are to do this at a regular meeting, that really we need to perhaps have nothing much else on the agenda to make sure that we have time to give to this important topic. That's maybe something we could do for June.
Yeah, I don't have much for June just yet, aside from following up on the social event
Okay.
and standard items.
Okay, so other commissioners, I'm interested in knowing if you'd like to have this be part of, or really set aside time at the June meeting and do this. Is this something that interests you at that level?
Well, speaking for myself, again, I have real concerns about time. It takes us half the meeting just to get through our, our standard, kind of agenda items. And I don't want this to be just window dressing. I want this to be really genuine input. And I think that requires this topic deserves attention. So I want to give it the attention that it warrants. And that's why I was suggesting if we could, schedule, I agree with Jessica 100%. A work group is not really, I think, what's needed here. I think what's needed here is a time for us with open meeting laws, to meet and discuss the SWOT.
If you would like, then I could send out a doodle poll with a few dates and times, and check everyone's availability. And someone can also simply respond not available, or not, not available, or, doesn't have, maybe if someone doesn't have the time commitment to take the analysis questionnaire and participate in the special meeting, but as long as we have a minimum of 4 for a quorum.
Christine, Dan, Mandy, would you be willing to participate in that?
This is Dan. I'm willing to.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, this is Christine. I'm willing to if I can fit it in my schedule.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so that sounds like we have an agreement about a plan for addressing that. So Jessica will send out a survey and try to identify a time that we can all, or at least achieve a quorum, and have a separate meeting specifically to address this. Is that everyone's in agreement with that? I
Yes.
don't know if we need to move, if we need to do voting on that or whatever, but I just want to make sure everyone's okay with it.
And if we could include Jordan in that doodle poll, just so that we know we're scheduling something when he can be here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jordan's not busy. So yes, my only other question or clarification is, I'll send that out. I might use Doodle instead of the other one because I only had 3 responses for our meeting one, which we'll get to here pretty soon. I think it's also, I just want to make sure to clarify, Jordan, if someone can't make the special meeting, can they still, take that questionnaire and their responses will still be captured in that discussion?
Yeah, so the only because what I will be sending out as far as instructions for the population of ideas for the SWOT analysis, because you'll only be able to see your own, that can happen outside of an open meeting forum format. When we get into discussing the items and sort of reviewing them together, that does need to happen. So it just means if someone can't be there, they won't be able to I guess see other people, other commission members' ideas and comment on them, I guess, at the meeting. And they also won't be able to participate in there's a rating tool, or part of the analysis is actually rating the ideas that are populated. Just on an important scale, so they won't be able to participate in that either, because that has to happen during an open meeting format. But they can certainly participate in that first step.
Okay, and then of course, not participating in the meeting, but then, we take minutes and have recordings of our meetings that would be, published for them to at least listen.
Yes, and so the program that we are using has a really nice sort of report PDF that we've been providing to commissions too, that you can attach to the minutes as well, if you'd like to. And then yeah, there are different ways that we can get that information to you. It can kind of be at the individual commissioner level, or it can be kind of an aggregate summary of the exercise as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a plan.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Please
thank you so much.
Google poll ASAP. I'll send it out tomorrow.
Okay, great. That's great. Okay, and then Jordan, did you have anything else that you needed to say before we move on?
No, just thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your very clear interest in this project. I think you all clearly recognize how important this is to our community. So, and we do want to continue this. This is not going to be the first and last time that we engage the commission, because you are in an area that we want to see very robustly in the plan. We will continue having this conversation with you as we go through the process as well. So I just want to make that clear, that this isn't the first and last time we'll be with you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
I'm gonna move on then to the, I know Felicia has been waiting to speak to us about the Flagstaff Public Library's Anti-Racism Committee, and want to make sure she has a chance to speak today. So Felicia, I know we're running behind and I'm sorry to make you wait.
No problem. I will try my best to go quickly through this to give you guys a bit of an overview. So I won't necessarily address every point that is on my PowerPoint. But we actually did go ahead and change our name to Library Equity in Action. And so with that, we first started the Library Anti-Racism Committee, as we started out with that name. We started it in August 2020. So we wanted to create space and time and intentional work and just regular work against racism as individuals, institution, and for our community as a library. And we focused on race because we thought it was best to keep focus on one goal with just starting out this committee. And so we had done it to support the city's Flagstaff's stated commitment to diversity, where they say that they're valuing diversity, not discriminating in any way, basis of race, color, religion, gender, age, origin, disability, martial status, veteran status, sexual orientation, other biases. And so that is what had us create this committee about 2 years ago. So the purpose for us is to educate ourselves and the community as well, engaging in our library policy review, starting conversations, taking collaborative action. So we value that good intentions, but we wanted to make sure we move past just good intentions into real action. So with that, we were able to change our vision statement. And by that, I mean actually create a vision statement. Our mission has always been to inspire learning, enrich lives, and strengthen community. And in order to help us focus more on what that means, we created a vision statement. That was one of the things that we worked on. We thought that was important because that way we have more accountability that we can lean towards and kind of focus in our mission a little bit more with our vision. So by creating policies and services and points of access to support lifelong learning, enriching lives of all people within our community. And so by doing that, we are able to offer a library card to every community member, provide access to safe physical spaces where human connections and relationships are fostered, promoting useful, respectful dialogue by sharing reliable information and resources, and continually advancing a culture of equity. And so those are the goals that we have set forth for the library to focus on. As I mentioned, we changed our name from the Anti-Racism Committee to change it to the Library Equity in Action. And so it was after discussion and vote that we decided to broaden our scope. After that happened within like last 2 months or so that we have changed that. And so with focusing on race, we have worked on that and have established, and so we feel more comfortable widening it to just be equity. And so, as I believe you are all familiar with the definition of equity here, and so we're just trying to make sure we're being fair and impartial, and so creating equitable spaces versus just having equal spaces. And so goals that we are working towards in this new equity mindset, we are trying to get leadership involved, and that's library leadership, but also like city leadership. And so we have met with them, and one of the things that they had talked about us with is to talk to you all about our goals. So here's the right here. So we're working on professional development. So as Lisa was talking about, they have trainings citywide, but we've also been working on it from like a library perspective. So we're identifying where we stand and our own biases, and by doing that, we are also reviewing our policies for equity and impact. I listed professional development twice. That's just how important it is. And then reviewing policies and practices for equity and impact. So we have a yearly review of incident reports, and we're going to be reviewing our policies yearly. As Lisa was talking about, looking at their policies, we're looking at our policies as a library, and then posting open workshops and forums in the community to express their needs to us as an institution. And so with that, we're talking about just having more open forums for the community to discuss with us what they would like to see from the library, instead of just having programs and surveys, but like just having a place to speak. And so we're working on making that a regular program, and we're working on diversifying our staff and seeing how we can do that, and then connecting with other institutions like the commission here around these issues. And so with one of our goals with sharing our goals with you all is that we can share how we are doing these meetings with our groups, and hopefully those norms can be added more throughout more than just our department is what we're kind of hoping for. And so I just have this here. I won't go over it. But it's just, these are the norms that we go through and establish during our meetings for when we have our meetings, which is, we have them monthly. And then so things that we have accomplished. I mentioned our vision statement that you guys got to see. We've been working on a diversity audit and assessing our library collection. And so what that means is like we are looking at where our nonfiction books are categorized, because just historically speaking, Dewey is not a perfect system. And so making sure that not everything just falls under history, but also maybe other cultures. And so that's what we're working on, is making sure that things are more accurate and spread out, and as well as having like picture books with other cultures represented. We had a Day of Racial Healing event. We've updated our policies, and that's still an ongoing process, and will be a yearly process. We have a bi-monthly internal anti-racism book club that we are expanding to be city and county including for internal like employees. Ongoing local language translation. So we are working with finding translators for our policies and some signs, professional development and staff training. So we've had some trainings just recently about microaggressions and cultural competency, and so like how those relate specifically to the library. And so as a collaboration, I wanted to share our best practices, what we are working on, so the Diversity Commission can understand where the library is at in becoming a more inclusive place overall in the community and as a workplace. We also hope that the commission can help share these practices with other city departments. And so it was really nice to hear Lisa talking about diversity work that's going on. And we also want to make these norms citywide. And we have talked to the city leadership, as I mentioned, and they recommended to bring this to the commission. And so I want from you guys is ideas on what and how we can work together moving forward. I know you guys are tight on time and you might need time to think. So you can give me your initial thoughts now, and like in 3 months we can check up too. And yeah, so thank you.
Well, thank you. As is, I'm really so pleased to hear all that's happening, and you know, to think of the library as such an active resource rather than just a passive part of the community, really advocating good changes. So appreciate all the work you're doing with that. Commissioners, your thoughts.
I will just say, Felicia, I think you are a rock star, and I think that you are doing just amazing, amazing work at the library. And I remember back to 2001, you know, with the Patriot Act and all that, it was the librarians that led the nation in justice, so, and protection. And to see you carrying forth that banner, you know, in the area of diversity just warms my soul. It really does. And I just want to commend you on all the things you're doing. I feel proud to be part of a community that has, you know, this kind of response toward inclusion in the library system. And also just a simple little ask, could you provide this PowerPoint to Jessica so we could all see? Okay, thank you. Wonderful.
I was thinking that would be the case. I wasn't sure who to send it to. So now I have I know where to send it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. I'm trying to think of how we can be helpful with this right now.
There's been an information overload, I understand.
Yeah, kind of am. Perhaps we can continue this conversation at a meeting during the summer or something like that.
I know I personally will not be able to attend like the next 2 meetings at least. So that's why like I was like, you guys can think about it for about 3 months and I can hear back.
That's fair. Yeah. That is fair. Yeah. Jessica, you had a question?
I guess kind of a question. when I send out the material in this presentation, commission members have the opportunity to reach out to you directly. Felicia, would that be okay also for more immediate feedback? Some of our other presenters are accepting feedback directly as well. So I don't know if
Yeah, that is fine. That's why I included my email, because I did see that during the other presentations. I'm still unclear as like what all the abilities are for commission members, as like what they can do and what they can't do.
Yeah, absolutely. So a presentation, yeah, the regional plan is a little unique, but for most of the other presentations that the commission listens to, they're able to provide direct feedback. They can reach out to the presenters directly. It's just when there's more like conversation, we do have to have an open meeting. So if you did want to reach out maybe in the next 2 or 3 months and let me know when you're available, I can get you on the agenda if you wanted to have a bigger discussion with the commission members. But direct feedback is something that we've extended as well.
In a nutshell, we can talk to you, but we can't talk to each other.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I know, like for you guys to be able to speak on a topic, it needs to be something as formal as this. And so that's why I asked for permission to present. So thank you.
No, I'm so glad that you did. And I think that as commission members, that it's beneficial for us to have information about what's available and what's going on in our community. So I find that it's a little bit hard for me to stay on top of all that, and I really appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Okay, so the plan with this is that Jessica will perhaps get in touch with Felicia later in the summer, and we can revisit this and perhaps think about, in the meantime, think about ideas and input that we might have. Okay. We have a couple of agenda items, and I know we're running way over time, but we really have to get to these today. And I'm going to ask those of you who are still here to hang on for just a little bit so that we can have a discussion. We need to transition a leadership role, and we're going to have voting in the summer for new chair and vice chair anyway. But in the meantime, there's some changes going on. Jean, do you want to speak to this a little bit as you're comfortable?
Absolutely. I just, the short version of this is I need to resign as vice chair. And the reason is just some health stuff going on with me. And I need to kind of reduce my, I need to narrow my calendar a bit, and taking on the upcoming, the vice chair moves into the chair position, and that will be a bit overwhelming for me. So I will be resigning from that, but we decided, since we already worked so hard to get some processes in place for leadership, that instead of just resigning right away, I'll wait until we have our election and a new vice chair can be elected, that will be with the understanding that they're going to move into the chair position. And I'm not sure how we structure that. I imagine Jessica can, tell us how to do that. But the long story short is that if commissioners can be thinking about whether they would like to finish out my term as vice chair, please, please come forward. And also with the understanding that that will move you in October into the chair position. Thank you.
Just to review the process, the process that we began last year was, I think it was in July, that we had elections, and Jean and I were elected chair and vice chair. And And then, but we didn't take those positions until October. And so if we are to stay with that pattern, we would have our elections again in July this year, with people then being ready to move into those new positions in October of 22. But in the meantime, if Jean needs to leave her position, we might actually be looking for 3 people. This gets a little complicated in my head. A new vice chair to replace Jean.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, Chair. If Dan left the meeting, we no longer have a quorum.
Oh, and that was rather unannounced. Oh dear.
Unless I missed something. Otherwise, we need to end the meeting.
Yes, we do.
Same thing that he left.
Oh, I just noticed it.
No, it just happened, Jessica.
Oh, good, good, good.
Right. No, he was there just a short time ago, and I really wish he had told us he was going. Okay, so we can't decide meeting dates and times or anything. So stay tuned.
I have a thought. Well, okay. I guess since we can't discuss anymore, I was gonna see if we could do a special meeting, but since we don't have a quorum, we can't even decide that. So,
No. Okay. We don't actually have a date set for our next meeting either.
we have a date, not a time, so I'll make sure the agenda's out in plenty of time. It's still June 21st, and we'll just have to keep it at 1:30 for now.
I think we will. I think that'll be our plan for the moment. And we'll just go from there. At least we had our meeting today. At least we managed to do that.
Thank you, Christine, for staying with us too.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness. Well, all right. So we are adjourned. And thank
Okay,
you
I'll see you next time.
for staying so long.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Christine. Thanks, Jessica and Deanne. Talk to y'all later.
Jean
right.
and Deanne, just since it's us 3 real quick. I know we've got a lot of follow-up and it was a hefty meeting. I'll send out follow-up.
Who is the meeting guest? Who is that someone, or is that just?
I just see you and Jean, but both of you say guest for me because
I see a 4th
okay.
something here. I don't know what it means.
Okay.
That's odd. But it's not anybody that said anything. Just go ahead.
Yeah, I don't see it on my end. Huh. I think it'll be, I'm going to prioritize, we can talk about this too in the leadership meeting, but I can prioritize these 2 topics that, we started the transition conversation and then did not get to the CODA regular meeting date and time. I'll prioritize those for next agenda, and then we'll kind of really just figure out and talk through our next agenda and our next leadership meeting.
Yeah, this, I know it sounds like excuse making. I was trying to move things along. I don't know what I could have done differently to manage this better, but
I really don't think you could have. Every presenter went a little over their time they asked for. And I think it just caught up, but yeah, we still covered a lot, which is great, but there's just a lot to follow up on. So,
and it's a good problem to have, kind of. I mean, compared to actually not that long ago.
Yeah. Well, we'll meet and go through all the notes in our leadership meeting to make sure I'm not missing any follow-up since there was a lot, and we'll go from there.
Do you know when that is? Without spending a lot of time looking, I'm not at my computer. I'm on my home computer and not my work computer, so I don't have a date.
Yeah, the next leadership meeting I have is on Tuesday, the 24th of May at 2:30.
Okay, good to know. I'll make sure it's on my work calendar. Thank you for giving me that.
Basically, that's next Tuesday, right?
Yes,
And what
Yeah.
time did you say, 2:30?
yes.
Okay.
And now it's fresh on our minds, everything we talked about.
Yes.
That helps me.
There was certainly a lot. My goodness. It was all good stuff, though.
Yep.
It was all good stuff, but I really am on overload.
Me
So-
too. I'm exhausted.
Everybody go soak your feet or whatever it is you do at times like this.
Yes.
And thank you for staying for the duration.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will see you all next Tuesday, and I just want to thank you so much, Dee, for doing such a great job, and Jessica, you're a hero, and I feel real good about all this.
Yeah, thank you both. It's good stuff.
Yep.
All right, see you next Tuesday.
Okay, I will see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.